Welcome to JSA TV, your virtual newsroom for telecom professionals. I'm Jamie Scotto-Kataya. Joining me here today from Iceland, we have Mr. Bjarni Thorvardarson. He's the CEO of Hibernia Networks. Bjarni, welcome to JSA TV.
Jamie, always great to be with you.
Capacity Magazine has voted Project Express, Hibernia Express's transatlantic cable build, the fastest, highest capacity connection between New York and London, soon to be turned on this fall. They voted Project Express the #1 project of the year. So right now, the Express cable ships are out in the Atlantic, physically laying that cable as we speak. It's an amazing physical feat. Can you please describe for us, Bjarni, in detail, this feat for our viewers?
We're more than happy to. And of course, as you would imagine, I very much agree with capacity that this is the most exciting project of the year. And this is the most exciting project of the century, I think. It is, as you know, it's the first transatlantic submarine fiber cable that is laid for the past 13 years. And that's despite the capacity demand continuing to skyrocket between those two biggest capacity markets in the world, London and New York. But a project like this, it's not an overnight success. It has been a long time coming. We've been planning it for over 5 years. We actually started early in 2010 to contemplate when will the world of the transatlantic capacity, when will the world need more capacity between the two continents, North America and Europe, and what should that new capacity, what should that new cable look like? So we decided if and when we build that cable, it needs to be the biggest capacity, it needs to be brand new route, and it needs to be the fastest route. So those were the three criteria. Because as you know, the transatlantic market is fiercely competitive. So in order to be competitive and in order to be able to offer the same prices as we have been offering, we had to be able to pull in various revenue sources, not only being proud to be the cheapest and cheerful operator. So that's why we said diversity, latency, and capacity. That's going to be, has to be the name of the game here. So that's what we started in 2010. The steps that you could go through when you're planning or coming up with and planning a process like this, project like this, it is first, it's the business analysis as you would think. Just what is the capacity demand now? What is the supply? When is there going to be a when is there going to be a need for a new cable? So that's the business case, and we put that together in 2010. The next step is then to do a desktop study to decide, okay, once you have decided to connect New York to London, you have to decide what's the route that you're going to take. And that's the desktop study. So you take a map of the ocean and you just, with a pen and a paper or with modern technology, you just map the route with a very well-known information about what the ocean bed looks like. The next step then is, once you've decided within a few kilometers or meters sometimes where the cable should lay, you go out and you have physical ships do the survey. So you actually look at the ocean bed, you confirm that it is what the desktop study assumed it was, or it finds an obstacle, an old shipwreck, or something is just not the way people had assumed. So you may have to tweak the route a bit. So once you've done that physical survey, the third step is then to manufacture the cable. And our partner in crime here is TE Subcom. They've been working very well with us for the past couple of years. And they've been manufacturing the 4,500 kilometers of cable. Now, 4.5 million meters of cable, it takes some time to manufacture that, as you can imagine. But that is now all accomplished. So the fourth step is to lay the cable. So that's the physical laying of the cable. And now we have 3 ships in the Atlantic. All the 4,500 kilometers are loaded on these ships, and they're laying it starting in UK, starting in Canada, and eventually up to Ireland as well, as because we have the bronze going into Cork. And now they have actually finished laying about 2,000 kilometers of the 4,500. So we're getting close to RFS. So that's the 4 steps that you have to go through when planning for and actually laying the cable.
And it's just an awesome process in my head. You physically surveyed the Atlantic Ocean, found the most direct path, and are now, creating and then deploying this fiber into the ocean. It's really stunning when you think about it.
And as we lay out the cable, as you know, Jamie, there's separate process when it comes to, or depending on how deep the ocean is, where you are laying the cable, and you separate it roughly in 2 categories. One is the shallow water, and the other one is deep water. And when you have shallow water, you actually have to have double armored cable, where you have the fiber, and you actually have this piece in the middle, and then you have armoring around it, and then isolation, another armoring. That's the thickness of your forearm when you're burying it. But then this is the cable that actually lays on the ocean bed when you have deep water. So that's thousands of kilometers of this type of cable with 6 fiber pairs with repeaters or amplifiers every 70 to 80 kilometers.
And you would think that it would be reversed, that the thicker armor would be necessary for the deep waters, but it's more dangerous in the shallow areas?
Yes, in shallow water you have to bury it actually 1 to 3 meters. Then the ships are actually pulling a plow as they're laying the cable, and so the cable goes into the ground. And that all has to be, you have to have a stronger cable to endure that, and also to endure the reason for plowing it in is that there's a risk of anchors, or the risk of fishing gear being dragged over the cable, and you certainly want to have an armored cable to survive fishing gear being dragged over it. Now, in deep water, where you have this cable, then it just lies on the ocean bed. Nothing is happening down there. There are no currents that are dragging it back and forth. So it has to be as light as possible, because it can be 3, 4, even 5 kilometers down there, or even deeper. And then the sheer just weight of the cable of 4 or 5 or 6 kilometers of cable dangling from the ship is such that the cable, if it was very heavy, it would be at risk of just snapping from its own weight. So that's why it has to be pretty lightweight when it comes to the deep water.
So the question on all of our minds here is, when can we get access to this amazing cable? When is it ready for these high bandwidth networks, for this amazing transatlantic connectivity?
We will have RFS ready for service sometime late summer, and it will really depend on weather, whether it's going to be late August or early September. But it's sometime late summer that we will have it. And now, as I said, we've already laid about 2,000 kilometers of the cable, and the rest of the cable is in the ocean being laid. So it's strictly weather related, whether it's a few days later or sooner. But certainly late summer, we will have this awesome new capacity in the Atlantic.
So Bjarni, what does Express mean for your global network footprint? How is it impacting the speeds, the capacity for your terrestrial routes?
So, Jamie, as you know, for the past 10 years, since the beginning of time for Hibernia, we've had 2 transatlantic cables, and we've had a cable between Ireland and the UK, and we've had a cable from Canada to Boston and down to New York, and we've been pretty busy building out the terrestrial network. We've been building in Europe terrestrial network then from London to Paris to Amsterdam, Brussels, Frankfurt, and way beyond that, now into Eastern Europe and up to Scandinavia. And likewise, on the US end, we've built in Canada to Montreal, to Toronto, Quebec City, and we now actually are extending it further west of Toronto. And in the US to Washington, D.C., to Chicago, and all the way to San Jose and Seattle. So, and then we go into Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Singapore. And a few months ago, we closed the loop. We're offering 360 services by going from Singapore to London. So we go all around the world now. So this new cable makes us our product portfolio and offering in the Atlantic extremely unique, because before we indeed had two diverse cables that went north, took the northern route, while everybody else goes south. So it was either you had Hibernia, the diverse Hibernia, or you had one of the many other cables. But now we not only have the diverse north, we have the fastest in the Atlantic, and of course the latest capacity and the latest diversity. What this actually offers and the product it creates for us beyond the Atlantic is for the financial community. The four most busy markets in the world are Chicago, New York, London, and Frankfurt. And this cable is going to be the fastest between London and New York. But the margin for us, it's going to be the fastest by 5 milliseconds. And that margin is big enough, so we'll also be fastest from Chicago to anywhere in Europe, or to the financial markets in Europe. And we will also be fastest from Frankfurt to any financial market in the US. So it is, when you're comparing talking about the financial city pairs in Europe and US, then the Express allows us to be fastest between any two of these city pairs. So it's very, very unique, and very creative for us when it comes to what we can do for the financial sector.
Well, I'll tell you, obvious benefits for the financial markets, who they're counting those milliseconds for sure, which equates to millions, potentially billions of dollars. Can you tell us, are there any new customers coming to your door now that Express is imminent?
Yes, indeed. Whilst the financial sector, this is very important for the financial sector, and the financial sectors are good customers of ours, only a small minority of use is going to go to the financial sector. By far the most capacity and most use is for the web-centric and for the media customers that we focus very much on and have focused on for the past several years. And these web-centrics that are offering cloud services or e-commerce, they are so bandwidth hungry that if it wasn't for Express, they would be running out of capacity soon. So it's those guys that are coming to us and benefiting the most for the huge capacity that is coming online in the Atlantic.
My last question for you, thank you again for being so generous with your time, but very few companies deliver on a project of this scope and magnitude. So for our companies and CEOs out there who are embarking on their dream projects, such as Project Express, do you have any words of advice now that Express is a reality due to your hard work and leadership?
Well, I don't know about words of advice, but I may have an opinion. First of all, I think you have to be a little crazy, or a whole lot crazy, to embark on these kind of projects. But I would say to anyone that's thinking about it, think hard. Do your homework, decide or conclude whether it is an economically justifiable project, if there is a need, if there is a demand for it, and take time to go through that process. Don't just build or aspire to build a project because you think you've got that there's a need for that. Do your homework, check that there's a need for it. Now, and if you conclude that the answer is yes, then it's a matter of perseverance, a whole lot of stubbornness. You'll have, in the world of submarine, you'll have a lot of adversity. You will hit bumps in the road. It's just keep at it. Don't give up on your conviction. That's why it's so important to do your analysis in the beginning, in the first place, so your conviction is founded, and then just go after it. It took us 5 years. We had to change horses midstream. We had to change financiers midstream, but we kept at it, and I don't regret a moment of it. And now that we have RFS right around the corner, Hibernia is thinking about the next Express project.
Oh, exciting words to end on. And very sound words. Thank you very much, Bjarni, for your time. For those of you interested in learning more about Project Express and all of Hibernia's products, please check out hibernianetworks.com. Also, check out the Hibernia team right here on the floor of Telecom Exchange. And thank you, Bjarni, for your time here. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to JSA TV.